In this problem, I need to factor completely the trinomial 3y squared minus 2y minus 16. The first thing we have to do with any factoring problem is decide, is there a common factor or greatest common factor? Well, if we look at our three terms, they do not all have y in common. And if we look at our numbers, 3, -2, and -16, there is no numerical common factor either. So I can't pull out a common factor. So I'm ready to compare it to my expression in standard form. Is this in standard form? Yes, it's written in descending order. So A is the coefficient of the y squared, which is 3. B is the coefficient of the y, so it's -2. C is the constant term that's -16. So I have to figure out what A times C is. It's 3 times -16, which is -48. So I need two numbers that multiply to AC, which is -48, and add to B, that is -2. Since they multiply to a negative, the signs are different, and since they add to a negative, the bigger number has to be the negative one. So I could have 1 and -48. Those multiply to -48, but 1 plus a -48 is definitely not the number I'm looking for. So hopefully you can come up with these numbers fairly quickly, but if not, I'm going to show you the systematic table where you can figure them out easily. But since 48 has so many different ways of factoring it, I'm going to put it on hold while I fill out the table. So you can see 2 and -24 didn't work, neither did 3 and -16 or 4 and -12. But 6 times -8 is -48, and 6 plus a -8 gives the -2, which is the answer I'm looking for. Now remember, these numbers are not my factors because in this case, A did not equal 1. What they are going to be used for is I'm going to take my middle term here and break it down into two terms, and that will allow me to factor by grouping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my expression as 3y squared, and then instead of -2y, I'm going to write plus 6y minus 8y minus 16. Because positive 6y minus 8y adds up to my original middle term. So now there are 4 terms I can factor by grouping. What do the first two have in common? 3 and a y. Pull a 3y out of a 3y squared, it leaves y. Pull a 3y out of a 6y, it's going to leave plus 2. Now you bring down the middle sign, it's a negative. And what do the last two have in common? They have an 8 in common. Now be careful, you're pulling out a negative, so it's going to reverse the signs of the next two terms. So pull a -8 out of a -8y, it's going to leave you with positive y. Pull a -8 out of a -16, it's going to leave a positive 2. Did both of these change signs from up here? Yes. Now, factoring by grouping only works if this binomial is the same as this one. Are they the same in this case? Yes. So y plus 2 is my common binomial factor that I'm going to write in front. And what does it leave behind? 3y minus 8. So now I have factored my trinomial expression. And don't forget, how do you check every factoring problem? You check it by falling out the answer.